Oh, I hope y'all can't hear this fan. It's hot in the office. For some reason, the office is like hot. I mean, I think because it's a big window here, and then when I close the doors, and right now the AC isn't actually running, so it's like burning up in here, and I'm just hot. So let me turn this fan off. I got a little fan here. I have it at work, but we're on spring break, so didn't realize I had that in my ear. All right, so hey, Scatterbrains, I hope y'all are doing well. I wanted to jump on and literally be very quick because there's something that I've been wanting to talk about, and I kind of just been putting it off. But I just got another email from another potential client that I just felt like I need to go ahead and can we get in focus, please? Thank you. Felt like there was something I needed to talk about because I'd rather save y'all some trouble. So for the people who are doing self-publishing, it's a great thing. You know, during the pandemic, a lot of people felt like, well, let me figure out how to make money on my own because of my circumstance. So let me just go ahead and take my leap of faith, which is great. I applaud all of you. Now, for the people who are doing children's books, looking for an illustrator is probably the biggest part of creating a book for kids is the illustrations. You want to make sure that, the illustrations look nice. Like you want to make sure everything is right. Let me give some warnings before you hire your illustrator. Okay, so since I posted my very first video about my self-publishing journey in 2017, I've gotten so many emails, you know, multiple emails a day from people asking for advice, asking for help, asking, can I edit, can I format, can I illustrate? And I do all of those things, and I've said in previous videos, if you're interested in having me help with your project, you can just send me an email. The email is scatterbrilliancy@yahoo.com. Now, honestly speaking, for some people, when they get my prices back, they're like, whoa, never mind. So then I made the video about hiring a illustrator. And if I could remember how to do it, you can click on the video right there. So now let's talk about for the people who you see, I don't know why the camera keeps going in and out of focus. Maybe because I'm not staying still. Like, what is going on? Okay, hopefully it stays in focus because I should just use my phone. But for the people who you find someone's illustration price is too high, so you decide to go a different route, I'm speaking directly to you. For the people who have a budget in like the 1,000 range, this is just for you. I'm going to give examples without giving names because I don't want anybody to be offended if they see this video. But I had a client. She reached out to me about illustrating her first book. I sent her the quote. I mean, the book was like a normal length children's book. So she probably had, you know, upwards of like 15 to 20 illustrations that she was going to need. The price for that was over like $3,000, maybe somewhere up in there. I don't know. And she was like, oh no, that's too high. She said, oh, I found it. So she came back and she emailed it. She said, I found somebody that is going to do my whole book for under $1,000. Cool. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do with their money. But for what she said she wanted and her saying that she found somebody to do it for under $1,000, I already knew how the book was going to look. This was sometime last year. Fast forward, I'm about to get ticked off because this thing keeps going out of focus as if I'm moving around doing all of this. Like, what is the issue? Like, focus. Focus on me. Jesus. All right. So she recontacts me earlier this year and she's like, Travis, I'm doing another book. I'm not happy with how the illustrations look in my first book. And she sent me she told me that she didn't like the illustrations that were done for the first book. So I went up and looked for the book on, you know, Amazon because I knew the name of the book. She had already sent me the manuscript, so I knew the name of the book. And I saw the cover and I was like it looks bad. Okay. Now, I never want to down another illustrator or another artist because, honestly speaking, art is subjective. You know, art literally lies in the eye of the beholder. But the illustrations were bad, okay? And I'm like, you paid somebody $1,000 to do this. You got gooped to the highest degree. Like, they got over on you. And so she was like, I think I'm just going to get it re-illustrated. So here is a case example of somebody who didn't want to go with my price. This is not a plea for anybody to go with me. This is just an example. It was for somebody who thought my prices were too high. So they went with somebody else who was a lot lower. Someone who's a lot lower. And they were unhappy with what they received. The phrase, you get what you pay for, is so important to keep in mind when you're looking for an illustrator. Now, in those previous videos, I talked about the website Fiverr. I talked about it because I knew that it was a thing. At that time, I really didn't know the level of work that was coming from the people on there. But at this point, I would not suggest that anybody use that website for illustrators unless you have heavily vetted your illustrator. Okay, now what do I mean when I say heavily vet? As I just sent an email to someone who said they thought my prices were too high. I said you need to vet them like it's somebody that you're about to marry. You need to ask questions after questions after questions, because what I am seeing is people reach out to me. Travis, I can't afford you. I want to afford you, but I can't. Cool, I understand, no hard feelings, so I'm gonna go elsewhere. They go to Fiverr. They get illustrations that have been copied and pasted. Okay, and when I say copy and pasted, I literally mean copy and pasted. I helped a woman not too long ago reformat her book. Her illustrator could not get it formatted correctly, so she asked me if I could do it, which I did. It wasn't free. And I saw the first page of the book and I said, your illustrator didn't draw this. That's what I'm thinking to myself. I can look at illustrations and know when an illustrator has drawn it themselves or if they've copied and pasted it, because I guess it's going to be hard for someone who's not an artist to understand, but it's easy to tell an artist's style. And when I say style, meaning like everybody, like an artist, whether it's a musical artist, they have a way that they sing their songs. They have a tone, okay? The same thing goes for like visual artists. They have a style. It's just like you can recognize a Keith Haring versus you can recognize an Andy Warhol. You know, artists have their style. They have their niche. They have their thing. And the first page out this book that I saw had like 5 different art styles in it. And I'm like, the way the buildings are illustrated doesn't match the way the car is illustrated. Doesn't match the way the people are illustrated. So I said, let me get your illustrator's email. And I reached out to the illustrator. The illustrator sent me the source file for the illustration, because I'm helping her with her book, so I needed those files anyway. So I looked at the source file, which is like layers, and it was literally a stock image. A part of the picture was literally a stock image. Oh, this is getting on my nerves. It was a stock image, and I watched Catfish enough to know you can just Google reverse image search. And I Google reverse image searched. Am I still? Let me set it. Set. So I Google reverse image searched that picture, and it immediately came up from Shutterstock as well as some other websites. So it is so important that you find out from your illustrator if the illustrations are 100% and 100% original. And when you say original, you need to ask them, is what you're creating, is this the first time that you're creating it and you're creating it specifically for me? If that's what you're looking for. Now, you may be comfortable with people who are copying and pasting. There's something called vector images, which is like an image that anybody can use. So if you're comfortable with knowing that the way your main character looks might be like the background character in somebody else's book, then this video is not for you. This video is for the people who want characters that are 100% original, that you're not going to find characters, backgrounds, whatever, illustrations that are 100% original, and you're not going to see them anywhere else. Because to me, just my personal opinion, it's cheating. Okay? Like if somebody is paying me to create something, I am creating it. I'm not redoing it. You know, it's like tracing. When my students want to trace, I said, tracing isn't drawing. It takes no effort to trace it. The only skill that it takes to trace is to be able to hold a utensil, a pen or a pencil. That's the only skill you need to trace. You don't need drawing skills to trace, because you're just redoing what somebody else already did. And to me, that's what those kind of illustrators are doing. There are these, like, it's clip art. We all know what clip art is from like Word. They just take pieces of clip art and they post it all together and boom, they have your illustration. They take the park from this piece of clip art. They take the bench from this piece of clip art. They take the swing set from this piece of clip art and they put it all together to create your illustration. And while if you're not well versed in understanding and recognizing these things, you're looking at it like, oh my gosh, I have my illustration. But when I see it, I'm like, it's copied and pasted. There's no effort in this. If you want a book that looks like that, you can do that yourself for free. Real talk. If you're okay with that being the way the book comes to fruition, do it yourself. It is not hard. An account on a Shutterstock is not that expensive. You have access to all of these images where you can pull these things yourself and put it together yourself. And you're like, but what do I put it together in? Word. You can put it together in Word for free. Okay. So then there was another client. And this wasn't really a client. It was somebody who reached out to me for help after they got their stuff from the Illustrator. And they wanted characters of color. And the Illustrator kept sending them white people. It was about a black boy and his family, and the grandmother was white. Now, that is possible in a mixed race family, but this was not about a mixed race family. This was about a black family. And the Illustrator kept sending like white people. And so when you're about to hire an illustrator, outside of asking are the illustrations 100% original, ask for samples, okay? Ask for samples. And you might want to negotiate the first image. You know, you might say, I'll give you X amount of money to create one page of my book just to see if you can create my vision. I would not ever say blindly trust anybody without having, some kind of leverage. You need to have some kind of leverage, especially if you are hiring somebody from overseas. That's not to say there's anything against people from overseas, but I'm just saying, like, that's somebody in a completely different country that you don't have any kind of direct access to outside of the internet. So you want to have some kind of leverage and not just be giving a bunch of money away and end up with some of these results that I've seen. And I feel so bad for so many people who have a dream for a book, put the words down on something, and then they go to somebody to create illustrations and they create bad stuff. I hate that for some people. And again, I say, this is not for anybody to try to come hire me. Okay. But please do your research before you hire an illustrator. Please find samples, get samples. Ask if the person can create a sample sketch for you for a small fee. Now that is an investment that you have to be willing to make, okay? Because there might be money that you probably won't get back, because I would not ever tell you to ask somebody to create something and for it to be refundable. That, as an illustrator, is offensive, because if I'm taking my time to create something, that time is gone. I can't get it back. I already talked about that in the video. So I'm not telling you to ask for some kind of refundable situation, but ask for like a deposit type situation. Like, I'm gonna give you X amount of the total for you to create the character, for me to see if it looks like what I want it to look like. And then if it's right, we'll move forward. And if it's not, we'll end it there. But please be careful when you are hiring an illustrator on the internet, okay? I mean, 100% original is what you want. That is what you want. I mean, if I could just show y'all the illustrations I have seen versus the way you want your illustrations to look, not even from me, just from a different illustrator who actually does a good job. I wish I could do that. And maybe one day in the future, I'll ask people that I have conversations with, do you mind if I share this without telling who you are? Just to show y'all how bad some of this stuff is. So I just wanted to make this video very quickly to let y'all know just some things to be mindful of before you go out and hire an illustrator for your children's book, okay? If you have any questions about the process or anything related to what I'm talking about, you can always send me an email. Again, my email is scatteredbrilliancy@yahoo.com. That is where you get in touch with me for questions, advice. If you want to get my price sheet for illustrating, or get me to format your book, or to edit your book, or just publishing assistance in general, that is where you get in contact with me at. And I'm going to leave that there. All right, y'all have a good rest of the day, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.